This week on the Road Unfiltered Podcast, we have the amazing Tanner Gallagher in the house. Dude, we got a lot to talk about, man. You ready for this?
We do. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready, dude.
Now, has anybody asked you questions?
They have.
Okay.
They have. And I've kind of prompted that a little bit. You know, if like you have anything you want to ask me, shoot. Dude.
Well, this is the end of the season, right? The end of the season.
This is episode 13.
Well, we're going to start off by just reflect. Well, you started this thing. This is brand new to you.
Very.
And I think some people out there are probably interested on just that in itself, that you created something from nothing and it's your first time doing it.
Yeah. Well, my thing was, it's like, I felt like my whole idea of having this podcast was the result of like having people reach out to me via Instagram, all that stuff, like just DMs of like, how do I get your job? How do I do what you do?
Yeah.
You know, what are the stories? Who do I need to call? What kind of camera gear are you using? So this is my answer. This whole podcast is my answer, but pulling in everybody in this industry that does that to have the conversation, tour stories, camera gear, workflow, anything, you know?
I mean, I got those DMs too. I think there was a small period of time where it was like, all right, it's getting a little overwhelming.
I know.
So
right?
You know what? I would do the copy and paste. I'm like, you know what? I said something good to this person. I'm just going to let you know.
I know.
And it was all good information.
Yeah.
For anybody that got my DMs. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want this to be inspiring, man. You know, I want people to look at this and go, man, these are the people that are doing it.
Yeah.
These are the people that are living the life that we want to live or we want to get involved with, you know? So, you know, we want to give kind of some hints and tips, you know, we want to talk road stories and all that stuff, you know? So let's take it back, you and I here, dude. So I want to know, because I want to know where you're from, like how you got to Nashville.
I thought we were going to talk about us.
Oh,
okay.
we'll get into that, but we're going deep.
Well,
dude.
I was once a baby in this world, and
That's way back.
which is pretty wild to think about. Right. I'm from Minnesota.
You're a big Vikings fan, I know.
I'm a huge Vikings fan.
Yeah,
I suffer every day.
I've seen it.
And I'm proud of it. I played hockey my whole life. I think that's like always my go-to story. Didn't venture off to Nashville until I was like, 25, 26 or something, 25.
So what year was that?
2015.
2015.
That
Gotcha.
was 8 years ago.
Gotcha. God, can you believe that's been 8 years?
I know.
9 years.
I feel like I just,
Holy shit.
I got drunk once and I blacked out and now we're here.
Now we're here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
9 years later.
Just trying to think of, which by the way, I did not win last night for, I am not the best photographer.
Yeah.
Neither are you.
I know.
And that's bullshit.
I know.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
We all are terrible.
There was a touring awards last night. And I think I didn't get it because my bio said, I'm voting for Jeff Johnson every year until he gets it. Right. And I don't think they like that.
When you said that to me, dude, I died. I showed my wife and she was like, oh my God.
People were coming up to me and be like, that was an interesting bio. And I was like, speaking the truth here.
That is so funny. So Minnesota.
Yeah.
So you grew up. Where did all the camera stuff come into play? What tell me. You gotta give me your story a little bit.
It's hard to like trace it back to anything, but like like anybody, I grew up on movies, but I was like obsessed with movies.
Right.
And I don't think life was like, Now,
were you obsessed with movies like in a filmmaker kind of way? Like
no, it was just an escape. I was just like, this thing makes me feel, everything.
Yeah.
And I was so enamored with it.
Yeah.
But, I guess you start to like think. I think there was a period of time. I was like 16, and my brother bought a screenwriting, and he's like, "Man, we love movies so much. Like, we could do this."
Right.
And I'm just like a kid. I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
So maybe that triggered like maybe I can do creative work. But I've said this before. I was the jock who wanted to be. I saw the creative kids, and I was like, I think that's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is ironic because like back in the day, like weird kids would get made fun of, you know what I mean?
And now here we are,
like
the weird adults.
Yeah, you laugh at the theater kid until he's Brad Pitt on the big screen, and then you're obsessed with him. It's ironic. But
so did you play sports when you were growing up?
Yeah, I started hockey when I was like 5 years old.
No way.
Hockey in Minnesota is like football in Texas.
Wow.
It's almost like I didn't have a choice. But
do you still get out there and skate a little bit and play?
Not anymore.
Really?
No.
You just stopped.
I had a little bit of an incident a couple years ago. I can't wear skates anymore. But
before that.
Yeah, I would. You would go home and like hop on a pond, which is like the most typical Minnesota thing to do.
Yeah.
I do miss it. But dude, hockey taught me everything about being competitive in like every form of life.
Yeah.
So I get to take that with me forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a camera come into play at all though when you were in Minnesota?
Dude, no.
Really?
No.
That's
I
unreal.
mean, well, it came into play a year before I moved here. Mm-hmm. The biggest, which I think this is a good story for people, is it was after college and I was going through this like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. You know what I mean? But I was still doing stuff as far as like getting job interviews, and I was, going for sales and marketing jobs, and I was wearing the suit and tie. Mm-hmm. And I remember like I got jobs and I would like call them the next day and I'd be like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. I went through this like, I don't even know what it was. It was like just trying to figure out life.
Yeah. And
I was like, I'm not meant to be in a fucking office. I don't know what I want to do, but it's not this.
That's how I was.
And I'd like call up my mom and I'd be like, Mom, what the fuck, man? Like, why are people doing this? Like, is this normal life? She's like, kind of. She's like, but honey, you can do whatever you want. So I just go on a hiatus, and my friend of mine had a condo in Florida. So I ran away for 2 weeks, turned my phone off. And then during this time, I was going through like deep therapy just to try to figure out and get better.
Right.
And I just had a computer and I just wrote. I was like kind of writing a book or something, or maybe it was like kind of a diary. But by the time I got back, I was more of myself, even though it was 2 weeks of being on the beach by myself.
Right. Do you feel like you
I don't even, and you know what it was? It was during a period of time where Vimeo was out. Vimeo was like kind of a big deal, or it was like going like this.
Right.
And I would just watch cool videos.
Yeah.
And I was so enamored with that. It was like mini movies that people were making online. And then in the description, people would put their film gear.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh, that's kind of cool. And there's a link to it. It's like, they filmed this thing with $500. I'm like, I could get that.
Right.
So that was it. That started my like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to buy a camera.
So that was kind of the birth of the creative for you. Taking that 2 weeks just to kind of refine yourself.
Yeah, my first project I did was for like a high school lacrosse team. And they're like, yeah, can you just make like a cool end of the year video? I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Just put everything in slow motion and put like some cinematic Christopher Nolan score in the background. And they were like, oh my God. And it was with the $500 camera.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I guess I could do this.
Wow.
So that was the beginning of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have that video still?
I do. It's somewhere.
Is it on your Vimeo?
It's actually, I'm pretty proud of it, honestly.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's where everybody has a different story of where they started. Everybody on this podcast has started a completely different way. There's no rule.
Yeah.
It's just people have just either fell into it, they had a passion for it, but we're all here. Mm-hmm. So
has anybody asked you where you started? Has anybody done that yet?
No, not really.
Let's go. Because I've been enamored, so everyone needs to know, like, you were one of the first people that I met when I first got into touring.
Yep.
And I think I met you, but I was just like I knew of you kind of thing. What, you know what I mean? Or maybe I didn't know of you, but I was just like, oh, what's up, man? Like,
dude, I started, so it was funny because I was on another podcast and I was kind of giving the story a little bit, but I started out when I was in my teenage years. Like, I loved MTV. Like,
yeah.
Holy
We're talking about
shit,
like
dude.
90s baby.
Dude,
right?
like, yeah. Like, I I loved watching music videos, and I was so inspired by it. I was like, man, I'm like, you could do this for a living. Somebody has this job to like create these videos, you know? And I was just enamored by it. So I would like try to make my own music videos and like edit and stuff like that. And back then, you know, it wasn't like digital editing and all that stuff. And it wasn't as easy as it is now.
Yeah.
It was hard back then.
And it was expensive.
It was expensive, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was just like, so I was just trying to do it kind of all on my own, because I felt like through all of the years that I've been doing this, I've self-taught myself everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I never went to school for it. I never did anything like that. So
where were you living at this time?
LA, born and raised. I was born and raised in LA.
All right.
I'm one of the few.
This I did not know.
Yeah.
But what a good place to start.
Yeah. But I wasn't like really like in the Hollywood life or anything like that. My dad was in the music business for a very long time.
Okay.
He is recently retired, but
what did he do?
He was a tour manager.
Sick.
And he tour managed major artists.
Really?
So when I was a kid, you know, he was like LD for the Eagles, Chicago, Pat Benatar, Meatloaf, you know, and he eventually moved into tour management.
See, you were meant for this, dude.
Dude, I was literally a baby on the sides of stages.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so fucking awesome.
So fast forward to 2003 is when I started, actually beginning of 2004. My dad had landed Josh Groban as his tour manager. Now, kind of rewind a little bit, but my dad was also in the country music business. He was Faith Hill's tour manager for 8 years.
Okay. So
that was kind of a little bit of my lead into country music.
Dad had a resume, dude.
Yeah, oh, dude. You should see his house. It's like a museum. It's crazy.
Is
like
he still in LA?
No, he's here in Nashville.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
His office is a museum. It's crazy.
Sick.
It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, he was tour managing Josh Groban. And I had a little bit of a musical background too, where I would do a lot of like editing, producing, mixing, engineering, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I had knowledge in Pro Tools. So he was like, hey, he goes, Josh Groban is doing the Ellen DeGeneres show. Can you come and run Pro Tools for us? And I'm like, sure. I got to go do the Ellen DeGeneres show with Josh Groban as Pro Tools engineer that day. And it was kind of cool. And then I ended up going to a Josh Groban rehearsal for his tour. And I met a guy at the record label. And he said, hey, he goes, we would love to have a guy out there shooting some content for Josh's website. Because, dude, there was no YouTube. There was no Instagram.
What year was this?
2004.
Oh, there was no
Facebook.
Nothing.
There was nothing. It was like, if you're going to look at content, it's really shitty content on a website.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was my first step into touring. My first tour I ever did was Josh Groban on his Closer tour, which was his very first tour.
That's wild.
And then that led to Faith Hill, because I did that. I got my chops, and then it led into Faith Hill, led to Keith Urban, and then just steamrolled and just kept going and going and going and going.
That's awesome.
And the thing is, it's like, you know, I moved to Nashville in 2007, about 4 years after I started this.
For convenience sake, or because
I got hired by Keith Urban.
Oh.
And then I started touring with Keith. And I was like, man, there is nothing in California that is holding me there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm coming to Nashville.
Sick.
You know? And I did it, dude.
Yeah.
20 years.
And you got there at such a time that it was probably starting to just like,
well,
not become popular, but it was, I don't know. It was
well, content at that point isn't obviously what it is now, and it wasn't.
I was talking about the city in general and like the industry,
God, dude. Yeah. I mean, it was completely different.
Yeah,
like night and day different. You know, because this was 17 years ago when I first moved to Nashville. I mean, I go to Nashville now, and I'm like, damn, where'd that building come from?
Dude, every time you come back, every weekend.
Fuck, I know, right?
There's a new building. There's a new neighborhood.
Crazy. I know.
I like it though.
I love it, dude. But anyway, so I did that, worked with Faith, worked with Keith, started working with Billy Currington. But the thing is through all of those years, I made so many connections. And that's what's important in this business. It's important in country music because everybody's connected here. Because once you're in, you're in.
Well, that's Nashville.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
that, like, when I moved here 2015, but like within, and again, I wasn't even working in music, but you felt this like it was like this community feel that everyone wanted to help each other. And they're like, oh, you're doing something? Well, I'm doing something. Let's figure out how to mix it together.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I love Nashville too.
Yeah, it's community, man. It's a family. It's a small family, I feel like. Because it's like everybody's been at these labels for so many years.
If I were to give a piece of advice right off the bat, and this is not good advice, but it is advice. I made most of my connections like just going out.
Yeah.
Like you're not even talking about what you're doing for work. If you just make best friends at a bar.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
And then it was kind of like you end up friends with people, and they're like, oh, you do music? I'm like, yeah, I have a camera. All right, 100%. Well, let's just do something, you know?
Yeah. That's how it was here, too. Because when I was working for Keith, you know, it was like me and all crew and band and, you know, other people would just go to Red Door and like Tin Roof and all that stuff. That was like the networking place because everybody went.
Yeah.
You know, everybody in the business went. Mm-hmm. And that's how everybody became friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're right, because it's like you start meeting people, you have to be present. Mm-hmm. You know, and when you're present, you make those connections.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. I think it's and I hate to stereotype like our industry because we're guys that are usually we're behind the camera, you know. We're introverts.
Yeah.
But if you have a personality and you can go out there and have a good time with people, I always say even for touring, it's like I consider it 80% of who you are, and then 20% is the work.
Yeah, it's true.
Because one, you just have to be a good hang.
Yep.
You got to be easy going to travel with, and you just got to be positive and fun.
Yep. That's what everybody on this podcast is
nowadays.
So true.
Let the record straight. I don't even consider myself a photographer anymore. You know, it's like I did it. All right. Now my boss is at a certain level where we're all good.
You're like the fifth Beatle, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. But no, my job nowadays is, and Hardy knows this, and everybody knows this. I just make sure everyone has a good time. Yeah. Like I am director of just vibes.
Yeah.
You know,
director of vibes.
Because if everyone's having a good time, especially the boss, then that trickles down and everyone's having a good time.
100%. It starts at the top.
The work reflects. I don't know.
Starts at the top. If Hardy's happy, everybody's happy. Yeah. If there's an artist that you're working for that's bitter and pissed off all the time, and I've worked for them, it's not a good camp to be in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's important. It's very important. It's like you said, it's like, you know, you have to be a good hang. And I always say that it's like your work is going to get you in there, but your relationships and who you are is going to keep you there. Mm-hmm. Because if you're an asshole, you're gone, dude. No, nobody wants to be around that. Nobody wants to be around ego and all that stuff. I know. You know, it's like, but then you also have to do the good work too, because
you still have to do good work.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, that's why you're there too. Yeah. You know, is to do the job.
No, I know.
You know,
for me, I think because I just became friends with Hardy. Yeah. You know, I mean, we like within the first 2 weeks, it was just like, you know, And this, you know, sounds kind of weird, but we was like, hey, we are. Yeah. You get it and I get it.
And that's really good though, dude, because there's a lot of artists that some people won't connect with, and then they move on, and that artist moves on, that content creator moves on.
Dude, it's huge. If you're going to be spending time with all these people, like you have to have a strong connection.
1000%.
So for me, I work really hard just because I don't want to let my friend down. You know what I mean? Yeah. He doesn't care. Yeah. Like he doesn't ask for videos. Obviously, management is always in demand, but he's just like, oh, you got one? Cool. Yeah. Yeah, let's watch it, you know? Yeah. But I still want, you know, I like seeing him watch it or a video and having like a good expression and I made him feel something.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we get to go do the show because he's amped up.
Yeah,
something
exactly.
Like that. Yeah.
So let's take it back on your end a little bit. When you got to Nashville, like, tell me the moment you decided to move to Nashville. You got here. What did you do? How did you get the first camera gig?
I got in Minnesota. I got a call from my friend who's working in corporate. Calls me up and he's like, "Hey man, you have nothing going on. It's like, you're a huge loser. Do you want to move to Nashville with me?" And I was like, "You got a good point." "Yeah, sure." And I was like, "When are we moving?" And he goes, 2 weeks. And I was like, "Yeah, okay." I think I had like $1,200 to my name or something. Right. Yeah, my mom was pretty upset about that. And when I first moved here, I didn't have anything set up. I only knew one person. Mm-hmm. she worked in music, but I wasn't in any place to like get involved. And honestly, I just moved to Nashville.
Right.
Not for work. I moved just because I came here one weekend. I had a great time and I wanted to do something different. And everyone stays home and they go to the same bar and shit. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
And that was what year again?
2015.
2015.
So yeah, I got a bartending job at City Winery, which was like a half venue.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody there was a musician.
Yeah.
Like every server, every bartender. So it was like, oh, like dang. And that's the vibe of Nashville. Got it.
Right.
And so that was the beginning. I mean, I did free work for 5 years until I got a tour job.
Take it to the bartending thing again, because Rachel Deeb told me that you are her favorite bartender.
Yeah. Thanks, Rach. I used to serve burgers to Rachel Deeb. Wow. No, I pride myself on being a bartender. So my mom worked in, she was a waitress like her whole life. And so I was around that.
Right.
So that created, I guess, some form of like outgoing personality. And I was pretty good at bartending, honestly. So yeah, when you move to Nashville, it's such a good job. You're meeting all these new people, whether it's people on the staff or it's people on the other side of the bar. And yeah, I just remember he was like a busser or something, and he was so talented. His name was Connor Morey, and he had some buzz or what. It didn't even matter, but I was like, dude, you sound amazing. And he's like, let's make a video together. I was like, sure. I don't even know what you want to make, but sure.
So did you have a camera when you came into Nashville, or did you?
Yeah. I'm talking about like the $500,
right?
Size of like my fist. Like it was it was tiny, but it worked.
Right. Yeah. Got to start somewhere.
And then another good friend of mine who I worked with was Jimmy Fisco.
Yeah, I know Jimmy.
At that time, he was just a model. He was just a good-looking kid.
Right.
And he's like, oh, man, I got to update my portfolio. You want to go around and shoot some pictures? And I was like, yeah. I have no idea what I'm doing, but sure.
Right.
So all these little things, it was just practice.
Yeah.
And it just kept fucking going and going.
Well, it's funny because it's like sometimes you think like you're doing these little tiny jobs, but it's paving a way, and nobody knows that. Like, I feel like a lot of these people that are trying to get into this business now and taking these odd jobs or doing shoots for free, this is actually paving their way right now.
Yeah.
Because they could be the next big videographer in 7 years from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And if you can have that outlook, if you can step back and being like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and I don't think I had that.
Right.
I was just like, every video I ever worked on, because I was more passionate about videos than photos, I just wanted to be so good. Yeah. And I just liked seeing my friends have a reaction, Yeah. And then I wanted the next project to be better. Yeah. So I wasn't planning on getting in touring. I just thought it was fun working with musicians in general. Right. There wasn't a moment of like, man, maybe they get signed and then we could travel the world, It was just kind of like, let's just keep making dope shit. Yeah. But I think at a certain point, like Rachel was doing the touring. So yes, I did meet her when I was bartending. She was working for Carly, and then she wants me to say this. So she got me my first pretty much touring gig that I got to sub in and go on the road with Carly. Amazing. Which was great. And it was like intimidating, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And I go on the bus and I'm like, where do I put my shit? Like, oh, put it in the bay. And then I go outside and I'm like, I don't know how to open the bay. So I'm gonna try to right. 007 this thing. Yeah.
I was gonna say that was gonna be one of my questions is what was it like being on the bus for the first time? And the bus was your very first tour experience, being on a bus, or did you do any van life or anything?
I did a one-off with a guy named John King, and that was at a festival. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, John King.
Dude, John, I directed a couple of his music videos.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John's a badass.
Great dude.
Yes.
I worked with him again. I think it was just like a one-off thing, and we were in a van, but it was to like Kentucky, so it didn't really count.
Yeah.
But then, I got spoiled, and Rachel got me that job, so I hop on a tour bus, and then that job led to I got with LoCash.
Yeah. So how was a bus? So how was the bus for the first weekend? Like, tell me a little bit about traveling with Carly for the weekend. Or did you only do one weekend?
I think I was just I I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like how that was. I just cared about just doing really good work, and we were going to. We did one random show, in the middle of nowhere, and then we had Watershed, which Watershed is sick.
Dude,
I know.
The best.
I know.
That's one of my favorites.
But same thing. I just kind of wanted to vibe with like the band, and she was super cool. So we were just shooting the shit in the front lounge. And
what'd you think of Watershed?
Oh, it was great,
dude.
It's crazy.
Like one of the best.
Yeah.
Have you been back since?
I went one time. I had COVID, and that was a terrible experience.
Oh, God.
And
are you doing it again this year, aren't you?
Yeah, we're headlining it.
Man,
I'm not headlining it. My boss is headlining
it.
Yeah. So I'm excited to go back.
That? Am I available? Can I come out and shoot with you?
I got asked to shoot the festival there, but obviously, you know, I'm with him.
Yeah. Was it with Fly High?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Screw those fucking guys. I'm just kidding. No, I love those guys. We did Crash My Playa.
Yeah.
That was like a few years ago, and we just had the time of our lives. And
oh yeah, I've done it twice with them. It's awesome.
For me, because I have a bad foot, and also we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I can't be running around like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chris Ashley just reached out about, I think, boots, and I want to do it.
Are you gonna do it?
Well, I mean, if I can do it.
I'm on it.
If you're on it, then I want to do it.
Fuck, dude. If you did that, I would be so stoked, dude.
We would have
Are
a good
you
time.
available?
I am.
Dude.
I know.
Oh my God.
But I asked Chris how much he pays, and he didn't answer me. So Hardy had his moment last year, which was pretty heavy. It's like a big emotional moment, and he went out and got some help and got some therapy, and he came back and he sat everybody down and he goes, "Guys, I want to do the bare minimum. How many shows is that?"
Wow.
And they go, "I think 33 if you want to keep everyone on salary and still, you know, be comfortable or whatever, you know, we can meet standards with the business." So yeah, I'm only doing 33 shows this year.
Wow.
And that was a hard adjustment. And I know we totally just jumped from.
No, you're good.
I was a bartender, and now I am working 33 shows. God damn it.
We'll jump back.
But the touring life, like, dude, I became so. I'll bring it back here. I loved it. Mm-hmm. I was like meant to travel.
Yeah.
You know, my mom was a big traveler, so, you know, as kids, she brought us around, and there's people out there who don't like to travel. Yeah, they don't like going on planes. They just don't know how to. They don't even know how to.
And they want to do this, and they don't like to travel.
Yeah,
I've heard those stories before. I'm like,
well, I think that's mostly just people being like, I just want to hang out with famous people.
Yeah,
I'm sure you do, man.
Yeah.
But I love traveling. I love being at the airport. I love being in a new city. So I fell in love with it. So fast forward to this year, when Hardy's like, yeah, I want to do just, you know, the bare minimum. We all kind of looked at each other like, fuck. Like, I like waking up and looking at Master Tour every week, being like, where am I going this weekend? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, this year I've grown to have a normal life, and we're still working on that.
We'll change that a little bit. We'll get you out on some stuff. Come on.
I'm here for it.
Dude, I'm fucking down. Bring you on board.
I'm done with surgeries. I'm ready to go, man. I'm done with the flu. I'm ready to work.
So let's take it back. Okay, so you touched on getting out there with Carly for a weekend and filling in for Deeb.
Yeah.
What after that? What, you had the bug, dude? I mean, like, you experienced touring life, and you wanted to do this.
I mean, it was just a quick weekend, but that was enough for. I like to think I did like an okay job for, like, it was my first touring project. Right.
And we all start off like that too.
Yeah. You know, but it was enough for, I don't know, Rachel liked it. And then Rachel got word of LoCash hiring. Right. And that was like, oh, they want to offer you a full-time job. And I was like, oh my God, you know? Yeah. Like, I remember when I got that text, I was in Chicago with my girlfriend at the time. And it was just like a. You know, I didn't even ask like how much they would pay me. I'm like, I just won the lottery. I just got a full-time job. Yeah. And that is where we met.
That is where we met. LoCash opening for Chris Young.
Dude, hold on. I got it. What amphitheater was it? It was in.
I think it was, honestly, I feel.
New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Was that the first time?
Dude, we were about to go on stage, and you just popped out, and that's when you introduced. And I'm like, this is my first weekend.
Right.
So I was like, hey, man, like, good to meet you, but I'm freaking the fuck out right now. But no, that was
the first time.
That was great,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, that was wild because we did a bunch of dates together,
We did.
I was always like, oh my God, look at this dude, doing his thing.
I think the next weekend we were in Vegas, which is so awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who else was out with us on that tour? Was it just LoCash and Chris, or was there another?
No, there was one more. Because we were we're the first of three. Chris Jansen.
Chris Jansen, that's right.
Yeah.
Because his guy was out there too.
That was a wild time because I don't know. I didn't even go to shows at amphitheaters, and that's like pretty much what we did.
Did you like them, amphitheater shows?
Yeah.
They're kind of hard to shoot. I feel
they are hard to shoot.
Yeah.
And especially first of three when you got 2 feet of stage to work with.
I felt like
but you got to
the LoCash guys only had like 2 or 3 feet.
Dude, you got to start somewhere, man.
Exactly.
And there was a challenge there. It was almost like, all right, how do you make first of three? How do you make it cool and big? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're just learning like the entire way.
Because I remember they had like a pretty big like lighting rig behind them. Because,
they had a whole setup.
Yeah, they had to, and that's very kind of rare that you see from like an opening act.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were doing 150 shows a year.
Yeah,
like they had such a full schedule.
Yeah, they always have gone hard.
They are hard workers, man.
Yeah, because I knew Chris. Chris was my neighbor.
Oh, nice.
Down here in Franklin.
Okay,
and so that's how Chris and I knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's in Florida now.
Yeah, exactly.
Preston still. He lives here.
Because it was LoCash Cowboys when he was my neighbor.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then it just went to LoCash.
Yeah.
But I remember when he was my neighbor, it was like I never saw the dude because he was always traveling.
Yeah.
They were always, like you said, I think they did like 200 dates a year or something, at least.
You kind of have to. I think Lainey Wilson did that this past year. I think she hit 180, but it's like, you got to take advantage of the buzz, man. And you have to get paid.
Yeah, because when you could become an artist to do only 33 shows a year, then you're in a good spot.
No, yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately for you though, because I know you
pros
like
and
to
cons,
travel
man.
and work.
Pros and cons.
Yeah. So how was it being on the road with LoCash? So I mean, you were getting your chops.
That was cool because, again, another beneficial thing for me is I didn't grow up in country music.
Right.
So like whether it was Carly or like LoCash, I'm like, no offense, I have no idea who you guys are.
Yeah.
So like I'm not starstruck and I can just talk to you like normal people, you know what I mean? We had a great time and also another learning curve. Dude, this story I always like to tell because it was the very first festival I ever did, and it was the Gulf Coast Jam in Panama City Beach, Florida. Mm-hmm. That's like, dude, that's like, with LoCash. Yeah. That's like 40,000 people or something, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I just care about the work, so I don't even care where we're going next. And I wake up and we're behind the stage, and I'm like, oh, what kind of amphitheater are we here? And all of a sudden I walk out and it's huge, and I see the people, and I'm like, my stomach sinks, and I'm like, I'm gonna throw up. Like I'm supposed to go out there in front of all those people. And by the way, no one cares. No one's looking at you. They care about the famous people. But it was very intimidating for me. And dude, I remember it was like, all right, we start the show. I get them walking out, but I didn't even go on stage. And there was a moment that the catwalk was all the way down. It was huge, and they're very quick. Like they're good. Like performers, they're fantastic. So they're already down there, and I'm like, shit, I gotta go get this shot. Dude, I run down, and it was just like boom, 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 and it's so stupid. But it was the first time being in front of all those people. So I run down, and I get this awesome shot, and Preston and Chris are like, working with me in the camera, and they were so good about it. And then I run back. And I'm like, oh my God, that was crazy, but I'm like by myself.
Right.
And I look at my camera. I didn't even press record.
Oh my.
I was like, God damn it. Because I was so freaking out. I just didn't press a button. I made that mistake. I made that mistake numerous times throughout my career. I still do it.
Dude. Oh my God. When you're telling that story, I'm like, oh my God, this is footage we could use. This is awesome. This is his first moment of being in front of his stage. Nope.
Yeah. And it would have been such a good shot. And then the story gets even crazier where we were right before we were direct for Jason Aldean.
Uh-huh.
Jason Aldean was sick throughout the whole day, but he was going to do the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like, we had 2 songs left. And then all of a sudden everyone, they got their ears in and they're like, hey, Jason Aldean's not coming out. You guys need to keep playing. And we like all looked at each other. And again, I'm like, this is my second week. And I'm like, what is that? What does that mean?
Right.
And so all of a sudden they have to like get together like, all right, let's keep playing. We got to play for like 30 more minutes or something. And it was such a wild time because you're like freestyling, like, what should we play right now? Let's just do a cover of something. Go.
Wow.
And all these people were waiting for Aldean. And I think at some point they were like, is he coming out? These LoCash guys have been out here for 2 hours. And he didn't come out.
That's crazy.
So it was almost like the first festival I ever did was like a headline kind of.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. Was that the Gulf Coast Jam?
Yeah.
It was that one?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was wild.
Damn, dude. What so how long were you with LoCash for? Because now I know that you and I met on Chris Young. We'll tap on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But how long were you with LoCash for?
Well, I started maybe end of July of 2019, and then I got a job opportunity January. So what is that? Like 6 months, 7 months or something?
So that was the Raised on Country tour with Chris, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, we did that, and then
God, that was my most favorite Chris tour.
we did a lot of shows, man. We did on top of that tour, and then one of the coolest things we got to do was the USO tour, which I don't know if you've ever gotten to do that.
Never have,
dude. It was we were supposed to go to Iraq, but then like war was going on.
Yeah,
that's kind of a problem.
Yes,
so we were like on our way, and then they're like, yeah, actually, you should turn around and go to this place instead. But
where'd you end up going?
Romania and Poland.
Wow.
So the U.S.
Dude,
has
what
like
an experience.
It was one of the coolest things ever. And like, if I get asked today to leave tomorrow, like I would do it in a heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, why? Why was it?
You grow a huge respect for like just the military in general.
Yeah.
And you're with these guys who are in the shit.
Yeah.
And they're out there living their lives in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And obviously we got to do the cool stuff. We're like shooting guns and we're in helicopters and
how cool is that there is an organization that, brings talent out there to bring some life to them.
Yeah, it's actually super rewarding. And then, you're obviously with like, comedians and actors or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we were in, I think it was in Romania. By the way, if you go to Romania where this is located, it's like Chernobyl. It looks like the entire city has been blown up.
Oh, shit.
And it's like, all right, this is different. We found an Irish pub, which is basically, it's not an Irish pub. It's just
right.
the only bar that's in Romania. And like, after doing all this cool stuff, we're like, all right, let's go to the bar. And we had to get like escorted to the bar, with all the military. And they're like, all right, safe to go in.
Wow.
And we just got wasted in Romania.
Was it scary though? Like,
not really.
No.
Yeah, maybe
you felt protected and like being around the right people.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
That's the biggest thing is like we were in the biggest and best plane on the planet.
Gotcha.
And you're with the top people of the best military in the world.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really realize it until I'm like having a conversation with like the dude that presses the war button or not.
Right.
Or, technically it's the president, but it's the guy like underneath him.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. So this job can lead you
to
things way beyond just music.
Oh yeah.
And that's the coolest part.
Yeah. I've had that convetion with a lot of these guests of just the situations that they get put in.
Yeah.
Of just different events, different places in the world.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff. What kind of plane was it? Was it like a?
It was a C. I don't know the exact number.
God, that's wild.
You
got to fly on it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
dude,
it's not normal. It like
Yeah.
God, C something. God damn it.
What are those? C what?
Dude, it's huge.
Like a C-130?
Like you've seen it in movies of like, Mission Impossible or
Man, I've never flown in one of those. I'm
James Bond.
I'm kind of a weird airplane guy. I love airplanes.
Dude, you would be so fascinated by this
Yeah.
thing. I mean, it's huge.
We did like it was actually when I think LoCash was out with us. I think LoCash and Chris and I, somewhere in Ohio, I think we went to like a air base.
Oh, nice.
And like got to go on those planes. They were just showing them or something.
Sick.
But yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, dude, take me up. I want to go for a spin.
You're a plane guy. I'm
am.
sure you've been on plenty of private jets.
I have been.
Let's talk about being on a private jet.
As you have too.
Like I said, spoiled. We did a lot of that last year.
The perks and the unperks of being on a private jet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The perks?
You look pretty
faster.
cool on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then, man, you really think you're going to die being up there. I think your chances are definitely increased compared to a normal
And then
plane.
you don't get the miles.
Oh, yeah. But you get home within an hour.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's always the best thing, though, man.
Oh, like it's weird.
Dude, I'll tell you.
You do a show, and then you end up in Nashville, and it's like, I can still go to the bar right now.
Dude, I know. Chris would fly home on a jet here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd just be like, dude, like, he goes, dude, come home. Let's go. And I'm just like, holy shit, we were just in Vermont, and here I am at home in an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then all the band guys are like, what the fuck, man? Why can't we come? I was like,
I know.
I'm just doing what my boss tells me,
Right,
man.
exactly.
I'm just filming content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget one time I was on, Keith Urban was opening on select dates for Kenny Chesney on a stadium tour back in 2008, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we went to Cleveland, and I did a Cleveland show with him. And I think Keith had something that he had to be a part of the next day. Man, I'll never forget taking off out of that airport right on the water in Cleveland, and us just doing this turn right over the stadium, and you see Chesney on stage with just all the lights and everything.
Wow.
I'm like, man, this is the life.
That's some
dude.
rock star
like,
shit.
We just rocked that place, and now I'm like, here we are.
That's
looking
insane.
at it from the plane.
Yeah.
You know, it's just wild. It's a crazy life, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, and I'm sure
crazy.
you have crazy stories with Keith.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, everybody loves Keith.
Keith is awesome, dude.
He was the host again.
He's great.
He don't of the touring awards yesterday. He don't have to fucking do that.
No, exactly.
But he's like, man, I'm here to support
Keith
you guys.
is awesome.
Like,
He's honestly one of my most favorite artists I've ever worked for.
Yeah.
Him and Faith Hill both.
Yeah.
Now, what happened after LoCash? Like, where did you move to? Like, where
I get a DM from David Lair, who was working for Morgan Wallen, and I knew of him because he was the videographer for LoCash before me.
Right.
And it was kind of like he just hit me up. He was like, man, your stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, love your stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, stay in touch.
Yeah.
And I never met him in person. And then he hits me up about this guy named Hardy. And ironically, like me and our front of house guy, Turbo, like we were just started listening to him. It was like Hicks tape. And,
Right.
we're like, oh, that's the dude that wrote the one song, whatever, And I'm not a big country guy, but I loved his stuff.
Yeah.
So it was very ironic. Like at this time, I get a message to work with him, and it was a pay decrease, But I think I was getting the feel of LoCash. They hit their pinnacle of their career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was well before my time.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, the to have work was great, and to have a full schedule was great.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to be a part of like something
That was
from the
rising,
ground.
Yeah.
That I would have like an actual influence on growing. And then I had a friend who was the guitarist, so like I knew I had some form of connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, dude, I go out and do a weekend run, and it's like hanging out with all your brothers, dude.
It's wild.
So
how was that the first weekend?
Dude, the first weekend, he offers me the job, which is awesome. He's like, dude, you got it.
So he offered it to you even
right away
before you started?
No, I did one show, and
Gotcha.
then we just went out to dinner, and I think he just realized, and I think he saw my work, and he just realized like, oh, this dude is normal.
Amazing.
And we can hang.
Yeah.
So he's like, you got the job. I was like, sweet. The next weekend, because I still want to do a good job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The next weekend, we're at a show in Oxford, Mississippi, at the Lyric. You ever been to the Lyric before?
I never have, but I've heard of it.
Tiny little thing right at what's the college? What's the college there? It's Ole Miss.
Yeah, you know what? I have been there. I think I was there with Chase Bryant.
Okay, yeah,
a long time ago.
It's been around for a minute.
Yeah.
So we do the show, and it's a small venue, but still it's like super fun. And I run up on the bus, and I start fucking getting crazy. I'm like, oh, I got to get this turned over because that's how my brain worked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that was the thing. Like they need this within 15 seconds of the
Yeah,
show. Otherwise I'm going to get fired.
Right.
So I'm working on my computer and then Hardy comes up and he's like, what do you, because this was when we were all on one bus. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm doing my job. I'm doing the thing.
Right.
And he was like, no, fucking shut that computer. We're going out and we're getting drunk. He's like, leave your camera here. And I was like, all right.
You know what
and we've been drunk ever since.
That's amazing.
But that dynamic changed. It was almost like, oh wait, like this is going to be the best job in the world. You know what I mean? You still have to do good work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just it was less stress, and it was like working with your friends, and
yeah.
And again, it was more important that we built this like connection if I was going to hang out with them every day.
Yeah.
And
which is so great too, to have the friends, the connection, the trust, all that stuff is all so important in this position.
I know.
Because you're missing one of those elements, you ain't going to be there.
I know.
It could be any of the elements too. You could suck at your job, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know, man. It's
there is a population out there that they just will never get it.
Yeah.
And they're the people, my mom's included, and she knows this. they're so starstruck that they can't, there's just this wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you could break that barrier, that's huge. And again, I didn't grow up in country music, so I just wasn't as intimidated. Oh, it was hip hop all the way.
Hip hop, really?
Dude, West Coast hip hop.
Yes.
I'm talking Tupac. I'm talking Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
Yes. Okay, so can we talk about
this? Was like even like Corrupt. I don't know if you knew.
Can we talk about the Super Bowl a couple years ago? Did you love that halftime show?
Oh, it was phenomenal.
Dude, it was the best.
Yeah,
that's my childhood.
Yeah, I was a psychotic Eminem guy.
Really?
And that goes back. I was a huge MTV person too.
Yeah.
I mean, I like TRL Top 10. Yeah. I was front and center. I was like, cannot wait to see.
Yeah.
But I still, I was with Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock. Like I still went through that phase. A little bit of Korn. I was a big Rob Zombie guy. My dad was really big in music.
Yeah.
So he, like I'm in the truck as like a little kid. So I'm listening to like Rob Zombie and all these people. And I loved it.
Yeah. Do you ever think like maybe some of your edits or some of your visions that you have when you're filming goes back to some of those influences maybe of like watching those music videos? Because I get it for sure. I'll see some stuff that I'm like, oh my God, that's where that kind of came from. Do you ever get that?
Maybe. I want to say yes. I really do. Sometimes your influences are so in the back of your head that you don't even know it.
Exactly. But it comes out in work sometimes. Because I feel like sometimes when I watch your edits, now that you said that you like grew up on hip hop, dude, I could see that. I could see that there's probably a little bit of that in your work, the way that you cut.
I admit that my work is this is the weird part of me, which I'm very proud of, is I love cinematic scores. Like when I'm by myself, I listen to the literally like Christopher Nolan soundtracks. Like I love that shit, because it's the reason why. Have you seen Oppenheimer? It's the reason why
seen it yet.
There's nothing going on. It's a scene of a fucking field, but the music is so pulsating that you're like, I don't know whether to cry or scream, because that's what I get off of. And I tried to apply that to these recaps, which was different.
Yeah.
And it was almost like this cinematic buildup of like, you put them in slow motion and you're just creating this more moment. But now I'm starting to branch out, which is basically like, how do we make these things more entertaining? And it's with different music, and it's with hip hop or whatever it might be.
Does he ever allow you to like take stems from some of his songs?
I work with stems for every single video.
You do?
Yep.
Amazing.
So everything that you see, you essentially, you're not making a remix. You're essentially trying to blend one song that, that I found on the internet with his song. And how do I make that work?
Yeah.
And that's when you're taking the vocals and you're just putting them over a drone-like hum.
Dude, that's your hip-hop influence right there, dude.
I'm
telling you. That's it, dude.
I guess so.
I'm pulling it out of you,
dude,
brother.
Like I said, it could be something that I have no idea about.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I like trying to make people feel something.
So what cameras are you using out with Hardy right now?
This is the only time we're going to talk about cameras, okay? I'm just kidding.
This is the nerd talk right here.
Well, I'm a mirrorless guy. I bought a Sony. That was my very first camera. It was an NEX5, and that was the $400 camera, $500. And I've worked with Sony ever since. If you give me a Canon right now, I have no idea how to work it. Right. If you give me a Nikon, I don't even know what that is. Right. And I'm not kidding. I always say I am the most non-technical camera person out there.
Right.
And I have these conversations with kids out there. They're like, what are you working with? And like, what kind of set? I'm like, dude, I don't even know what the settings I got going on. You know, I YouTubed it and I just kept with it. I got my shutter speed and I got record and I don't know what else to tell you. I know. But I do want to, because I want to get involved in, every time I see you have a red camera, I want to get more involved in the bigger stuff just to figure out how you can get a better shot.
Yeah.
That
was going to be another question that I was going to have for you. Is there, you know, I mean, obviously doing all the tour stuff and doing all the recap stuff and the photos for Hardy, would you ever dive into directing? Like not just for Hardy, but like for anybody. Would you ever want to direct a music video? Because I think we've had this conversation.
We have, yeah.
A while ago.
I know.
But I want to see where you're at now.
So,
because I don't think you wanted to before.
And I still don't.
Gotcha.
I think I want to do one music video and then just call it.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of music videos don't get the love that they
used to.
Yeah, it's not the biggest, strongest marketing tool, and I'm not saying that's like the reason why we do what we do. The idea of a music video, I don't feed off of that.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I do want to do is I'll do his documentary down the road when it's time to like really tell his story.
Yeah.
And like, because I'm so connected with his family.
Yeah.
I know everything about the kid that most people don't know.
Is that something you'd want to do, is direct a documentary?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's
for sure.
Awesome.
I am kind of working on, I forgot to ask him about this today. I want to start making, Drake was the only person that did this. Mm-hmm. And Drake, they premiered it on Apple Music. It was essentially a short film that promoted the album. Mm-hmm. But I like to call it as like an album trailer.
Yeah.
So that, I think I would like to do that, and that's might be coming up.
Gotcha.
I still got to pitch the label.
Yeah.
Sorry guys. Big budget too.
This will be out by the time that all goes down.
Okay. So that I consider is a small production project that like gets me into the big stuff.
Yeah.
And I think down the road I'd love to do commercial work. I'd love to apply like my weird brain and what I make for these people and how we can, you know, it could be for cars or it could be for anything else. I think there's challenge there.
Yeah. Because I've always wondered, because the thing is, it's like you're so super creative with the edits and you're so smart with all that stuff and you're damn great at it.
Thank you, sir.
It's like, how do you take that and create your next chapter? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely.
Because we're all not going to be videographers and photographers forever.
I know.
I mean, we could be.
I know.
Shit, I'm 20 years in. I didn't know I was going to be doing this in 20
I always
years.
say I'm going to work with Hardy until he says I can't work with him anymore. So
Right.
however long that is.
Yeah.
I had that moment this year because again we went down to 30 shows or 30 some shows and it was forcing me to like, I guess I got to do some work like outside of touring, you know. Obviously I could go out with another artist and I might do a weekend or something, or I'll work with Paskert and David Lair with Morgan, but it's just not the same. Like I'm so spoiled and it's so home with the Hardy camp that it's hard to work with other artists now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the bond.
But I do want to get into the bigger projects at some point. I think I could crush these like commercial work and
exactly,
and really apply something different than what is just basic cable out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember that time you came on set for a little music video I was shooting in Franklin.
I think that's awesome.
And I think that's when I asked you.
That was my best behind the scenes photos. I got to bring those up. I'm not kidding. They were really good.
I know. Well, it's funny because
everything else sucks.
I think I asked you that day, like if you would ever want to get into this, like directing, and you said no. You know?
like
I said, I mean, directing a music video. I take that back. Not like a commercial or anything.
It would have to be, like I said, I'm going to do one music video, and it'd have to be so outlandish that it would really be hard for the label to agree to it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not into, and maybe I get this from Hardy himself because he's like he's the different guy in country music. Yeah, I want to make something that no one's made before. I don't want to make the typical story and have it be, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
speaking of music videos, you were just in one. I see you. I saw you.
Oh, you're talking about Rockstar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The new Hardy music video. It's new right now. We're shooting. Today's what, February 13th. So, and this doesn't air for a while, but it is brand new video now. But when I watched it for the first time the other day, I was like, dude, there he is.
They're starting to. I get on set because I'm doing behind the scenes,
right?
And then Justin Clough is just like, "Oh no, we need you in here." And I'm like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
He's like, "You're a part of the story," and I'm like, "All right, fine." So it was that little moment where he's like, "Hey, I want you to run to stage past him." Like,
right.
It's like very subtle.
It's awesome though, dude. It's like the fifth Beatle again, dude. You're like a band member, dude.
Yeah.
I see you running around up there. Yeah. I see all the videos of you running around up there.
What, on stage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a part of it all, dude.
I like consider myself. I'm definitely different than the average
100%.
guy out there, and I think.
But in a great way.
I run around way too much than I should, especially with a broken foot.
Right.
And I'm like jumping off stage to try to get these shots. I don't know. It reminds me of playing hockey.
Yeah.
And it's like my form of like I could be athletic still, and like my heart's adrenaline because I have to like run all the way to the end of this festival, but I can get the shot and like boom, that's like scoring a goal for me or something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like venue wise, what's some of your favorite ones that you've been to?
Man, there's some that we have coming up that I can't talk about. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to do those. But we were so fortunate to go on the Morgan Wallen tour, which is like all these crazy stadiums. Mm-hmm. It's insane. SoFi Stadium was. It's not even real. You know what I mean? I'm looking around. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Watershed was a big deal. Watershed is like another version of Red Rocks.
Yeah.
They got the canyon in the back. It's like I can't believe they have shows out here.
When I did a Watershed show, the guy that does all the helicopter stuff out there, he takes the artists out for helicopter rides. Have you ever seen that?
No, I did not know that at all.
He took me out one day, and he was taking me through the canyons.
Did you bring your camera?
Oh, dude, I got it all on film.
Sick.
It's awesome. We'll have to pop a clip in. But he took me out on just me by myself with my camera, and we were just going because the back where you're hitting the golf balls out into the canyon.
Oh yeah,
dude, he was flying me down into the canyon doing this shit, dude. It was crazy.
I think the last year that I was there, there was so much fog you couldn't even see.
Oh really?
I think it was there was forest fires that were coming up. But that's so awesome.
Yeah, dude, that venue's awesome.
My thing is, I'm not like. Again, unless it's Red Rocks.
Have you been to Red Rocks?
I have not yet.
Dude.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But I'll be there at some point. I think I thrived off of like faster horses.
Yeah.
Like festivals, or like Boots and Hearts was up there. Like festivals that are just notably known for just being fucking insane.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what place you are. I don't know what Hardy was. He was like, it was middle of the day. It was still sunlight out, but people are on shoulders.
Boots and Hearts?
Yeah.
Dude, that was absolutely
And
insane.
for faster horses. Those are the two big ones. And people are just they're going nuts.
Yeah.
And like, that's the cool.
Dude,
that's what I love.
That Boots and Hearts show, because it was funny because I was talking to Timothy Healy about it.
Yeah.
Because he was on this too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And
which, by the way, I consider Tim like, I think he is the best in the game.
Dude, so talented.
He's
man.
so good.
And just so cool too. He's still kind of like, he's still like a sponge too. He's always on he's always like waiting for your last word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just always kind of taking it all in. I could see that in him.
He's a different kid in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And he works with Nickelback now, and yeah, anytime there's like an editing gig, I'm like, hit that fucking dude up, because he's way better than I am.
Yeah, but it was funny because we were talking about it, how Boots and Hearts it was me and Chris Ashley. We were pulling up in the golf cart and we saw you guys. And, you know, it's just, that's what's so cool about the festivals is that we all kind of have the ability to kind of reconnect, you know, but that Boots and Hearts festival, that was off the fucking chain.
It was awesome.
With Hardy on stage.
Yeah.
Cause I got you that drone footage.
Oh, I know.
When the crowd was
so
just
good.
doing this.
Yeah.
And that was, man, that was,
and again, it was
unbelievable.
middle of the day.
Middle of the day.
Or was he direct for Nickelback?
Was he direct for that? I forget.
I don't know.
I forget.
Either way, it was so cool.
That day at Boots and Hearts was unbelievable.
Yeah, it's shocking to know that Canada like rocks with country music, like almost sometimes way more than the U.S.
Yeah, I think the Boots and Hearts people said something about that was the most tickets that they sold in a night.
But it's also it's Nickelback.
Yeah, exactly.
They're Canada's.
Canadian, yeah, I know.
I remember talking to somebody being like, yeah, it was they were Canadians and they're like, the U.S. made fun of Nickelback back in the day. We never did. We've just loved them this whole time. And I was like, that's what's up.
They're awesome though, dude. Like their live show, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Especially like Timothy's recaps.
Yeah. Since this will be out in April.
Probably a little bit later.
Okay, yeah. We're doing a CMT Crossroads with Nickelback. Fuck. So it's Hardy and Nickelback. I know that's going to be beginning of March.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it'll already be filmed and out there probably by the time this podcast comes out.
Correct.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Is it here in Nashville?
Yeah, they're going to have it at Marathon, I think.
Yeah. Dude, that's going to be so sick.
Yeah.
Especially Hardy, man.
The collab that people always want.
Who did the music video for Hardy? That was the claymation.
No idea. They found someone like I don't even know. They don't even know who it is. It was just a referral, and that one deserves so much more love.
Good, dude. Like,
isn't that insane? How literally it's a guy. He's got a thing like this.
Yeah.
And every movement, he just like turns
frame. Exactly.
I mean, they paid a lot of money for that, but like. That's so cool.
Dude,
and it was so different too.
That video is so incredible. And that song is so unbelievable. That's like one of my favorite Hardy songs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, that video. Have you seen that video? You got to watch that video, dude. Oh my God, man.
Hopefully Michael Hardy sees this one day and he can see that you just said that it is his favorite. Really? It's your favorite song.
It is.
It's like a lot of people's favorite song.
It's amazing.
And he's thinking about not playing it anymore. So,
dude, keep playing that shit, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, that one was fun.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's just it's that rock thing, man. I'm a big rock guy.
I know.
Yeah. Hardy's such a badass, dude.
He's good.
He's good.
He's good. I'll just say that.
He's all right.
Yeah. He's got an album coming out in April and it's all rock and it's going to be fucking so awesome.
That's amazing, dude.
Because we've been listening to this music for, the past year or so.
I know. Isn't that wild that when you work for some of the artists, it's like you get to hear some of the music for so long in advance and then all of a sudden it comes out and it's brand new to the fans.
Yeah.
How exciting that is. It's almost like you're a part of it,
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because, they're asking for your opinion too. Because you're the first to.
Yeah.
And no matter how down the road these artists get, they're still, like somewhat insecure.
Yeah.
Like they'll still ask you, like, is that good?
It's true. No, it's totally true. I feel like we're like that too as creatives and photographers.
Oh, without a doubt.
Sometimes we're like, damn, was that okay?
Yeah. I told Spidey this on his podcast. I'm like, dude, I hate everything I do.
But why?
There might be 2 videos or maybe 3 videos that I've made in my career that I can watch and I'm like, that's legit.
You're fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
All your shit's so good.
Because
dude.
I don't know, it's like it's fuel for I just want the next one to be better, or like next year I want the next year to be better.
Yeah. And that's always a thing with creatives. That's a thing with songwriters too.
Yeah.
It's like you always want to be better than your last one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't take the pressure of it. There's no need. You're gonna do a great job.
No, I know.
Everybody gets better in time. You know what I mean?
But and you know what it is? It's the same thing with. I get this with guitarists too. They're like, man, I went out there for a solo and I just completely fucked it up. I'm like, dude, no one heard you fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the only one who thought you fucked up. So then it's like us watching a video and I'm like, oh, that cut was off beat, man. And everyone's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Didn't see it.
Like, yeah, I guess I'm an insane person.
So kind of talking about edits and your work and stuff like that, give me a little insight into like how you prep and edit your cut, because the shit that you put out is insane, dude. And it looks like it's very thought out. It looks like there's a lot of time put into it.
Well,
Tell me about your process.
I'm very fortunate where, back in the day, and they still do it today, some kids are making videos like every weekend, and they have to get it done by a certain amount of time. It took me a while, but once I started making quality videos over quantity, then it kind of stretched my timeline.
Yeah.
Because one, I would just get too stressed out, and it reflects, I don't know, it reflects the stuff.
Yep. 100%.
It's like, you want to put out a mediocre video after 1 week, or do you want to put out like a badass video after 2 weeks, you know?
Exactly.
It's that thing.
Yep.
So I try to give myself good enough space to work on these things. And I think it goes back to, I'm in my car and I'm listening to like a cinematic score. So then boom,
you.
I know. And that's the first thing that I put on my timeline.
Yeah.
Like, this is before I'm even filming. So I build the soundboard ahead of time. I know. And I didn't do that in the beginning, but now once I start using sound effects and stuff, and then you're watching other videos and you're like, ooh, I want to create that moment.
Yeah.
So you can put the sound effects already in there. So then you're visually, after you're like listening to it, you're like, I know the kind of shot that can match up to this
amazing.
sound. So that's what I do.
I bet a lot of people don't do that.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
But it is I think it's the most important part. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Nowadays, your attention span is 0.5 seconds, which sucks.
Yeah.
And so visually, it has to be there.
100%.
But I don't know. It's all about. That's why I started adding sound effects, because like people just felt more, and it like caught their eye more.
Yeah, I remember when like YouTube videos were like 6 minutes long. That was like a recap.
Yeah,
and it's like then it would move to like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and then it was like a minute.
Yeah,
and then it was like 15 seconds.
I know.
But it's like nowadays, it's like you put out a recap, you got to capture them within that second, or it's like they're scrolling to the next one.
Yeah,
but that's the cool thing about your work, though, is like you grab them right off the bat. The effects that you use, the motions that you use, the quick, like everything that's in your videos, you capture them on the first second, because there's never been a time that I've seen a Hardy video or a Tanner video come out that I'm like, oh, I need to move on. It's like, I need to see this to the end. Yeah. Like, this is fucking dope.
Well, that's the challenge nowadays.
Exactly.
Like you have to keep them engaged. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
And I always try to make something different. I had 1 year that I did such a good job, and every video was different. Like one time I used a hip hop, and then I used a cinematic score, and then I used a Hardy song, and they all looked like, I'm sure they knew it was me, but they all had a different vibe, and it was a different style.
Yeah. So
I try to pride myself on. It's kind of it's a little hard nowadays.
Yeah.
You can't just keep doing this forever. You know.
So what?
But yeah, like I said, it's just I want to be like shocked just as much as the viewer.
Yeah.
And once I have it in my head, I'm like, ooh, this is good.
Yeah.
Now I think people can watch it.
Do you ever like edit like as if you're like a fan? You know what I mean? Like, do you ever like take that perspective when you're editing?
Well, I genuinely like Hardy's music.
Yeah.
Like I really like it. So I want to do justice to a song that, like I've been listening to Rockstar for a long time, but now that it's out, we have one show. It's the Houston Rodeo, and I'll put that on there. And so now I'm thinking like, ooh, how can I create a moment within that song? Yeah. Which there is a moment in that song, but how do I work around that? Yeah. And I don't know. I guess as a fan, I don't know.
You know what I like?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah, but you know what I like about your thought process on this is that you don't just shoot the footage and then try to put together a recap. You're actually preparing the recap prior to your shooting. Yeah. Which is really cool, because not a lot of people do that. A lot of people will just go capture footage and then put together a recap of what they got.
At a certain point, and you can justify this too, you got to start working smarter, not harder.
1,000%.
And I used to be that person. Every show, no matter what it was, it could have been a county fair. Like I was just hauling ass and I was filming the whole time. And then eventually now I'm in a period of time, I'm like, man, I don't even have to shoot this show. Like I could just do pictures because I already got my shots that are going to be in the video.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
and this is just
smart.
for video's sake.
Yeah. That's wild.
And at the end of the day, what changed was before it was like the music industry thought that we had a responsibility to make a recap that reflected like the city, like New Orleans is we want to showcase that. Mm-hmm. When at the end of the day, all you're doing, you're just making marketing tools.
Yeah.
All these videos you're just branding the artist.
Yeah.
So that's when I started, like, I took out the city names, and now you're like mini movies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's more about the artist than it is about where you were.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, people are still going to see the footage from that show.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I work with it.
Yeah.
And we'll have things mapped out where I'm like, hey, dude, before the show, can we do a thing? I have an idea. Let's just do a walking down this hallway kind of shot.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the cool thing about the trust and the bond that videographers or photographers will have with an artist is that you can pull them for a second and be like, yo, let's shoot this really quick because I have an idea for a recap.
Yeah.
Or I have an idea for a photo. Let's shoot this really fast. That's huge.
It's fun for him just as much as us because he's like, oh, I can't wait to see this,
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to do this year, I'm going to get a shot, and we tested it out back last spring, but the venues were too small. You know what I mean? It didn't look as cool.
Yeah.
But it was basically, and it was just me and him, and I film him all in one shot from the bus, walking all the way to stage, and then the song starts and people go nuts.
Yeah.
So that's like one idea that I have. But you pitch that to him and he's like, that would be sick.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the shit, dude.
I think with what we do, or even music, like just being a creative, you have to force yourself. I used to think this back in the day. I'm like, man, everyone already invented everything. Like, they already came out with how are they making more movies kind of thing.
Yeah.
And for you, that's the challenge. You have to like make yourself try to come up with these new ideas.
Yeah,
and
you got to be ahead of it.
And force yourself to just push the line more.
You got to be ahead of the curve.
And even if it's for a fucking 30-second video that's going to live online for not even a day.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to force yourself, because I still get a high off that.
Yeah. Do you have any editors that you like look up to or admire?
Well, I said Tim.
Yeah. Anybody else?
He's the best.
Maybe not in the genre of country, but just in general that you may see?
Well, I loved the Rory Kramer, and everyone names him because he was like he kind of put videographer on the map on a big scale because he's working with these huge artists in pop music.
And he was ahead of it.
He was ahead of it. He was combining like vlog with recap and including himself, and he branded himself.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But he still had really cool edits.
Yeah.
He was doing the speed ramping that that was the first time seeing that.
Yep. Exactly.
And when you first see it, you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And then you figure out how to do it, and you're like, oh, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time consuming, but that's pretty easy. But I liked him. I liked Machine Gun Kelly's. His name is Sam. I forgot his last name. Cahill, maybe. Uh-huh. He did a great job, and he was short-lived. I think he only did like a year of just recaps, and then he started directing music videos for him.
Gotcha.
On a photographer standpoint, I love Billie Eilish's photographer, and I'm thinking about dialing into that, which basically it's forcing to get more creative on the edits with pictures. His name's Matt Vogel.
I have to look him up.
Yeah, and it's very creative and very artsy, and obviously it's edited like crazy, but he just does a really good job on that.
Well, and that's the great thing about, photographers and videographers. It's like, they're kind of building the brand. Mm-hmm. We're a very big part of that.
Yeah.
I know.
What
do you edit in?
I'm a Premiere Pro guy.
You are. Do you do any After Effects?
I used to dabble because, that's just like a whole nother realm.
Yeah.
Another thing to like learn. And I can do some certain stuff. I usually do it with masking or something if I want to like really go above and beyond.
Yeah.
But right now I've been managing to get it all done with Premiere Pro.
Really?
And yeah, I would love to do the who am I thinking of right now? Who does all the 3D stuff?
Spencer Miller.
No, and he's great. I got to meet him recently, and he's a super nice dude. He does 3D stuff, but no, director in LA, and he works with Drake. He works with Travis Scott.
I don't know.
I hate that I can't think of his fucking name, but he's all green screen. And he's got a whole team, and that would be cool. I tried to work that into my videos. I did it for one video last year. That is a world I'd like to get into.
Like green screen stuff?
Green screen, 3D kind of stuff. You essentially build like unimaginable scenes within what you're working with kind of thing.
That's what I love about Spencer Miller. Like he takes those photos and turns them all into 3D, and he's like zooming in and perspective and all that after.
Again, you're finding new ways to like catch the eye.
Yeah, exactly. That's the stay ahead of the curve thing. Yeah. Let it inspire. I think it's you let it inspire you. Yeah. Some people think that like social media can be intimidating. Creators looking at creator stuff can be intimidating. Absolutely not. I find it inspiring. Dude. I still do to this day.
Yeah. And it goes back to we're both in the same pace. Like I self-taught my stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to want it, man.
Yeah.
You just have to take the time where I consider myself, I did free work and I went to school on my own for 5 years.
Yeah.
Where I was just tutorial after tutorial on YouTube. And you would try to, again, with After Effects or something, you would try to just make this one thing. Yeah. Whether it was so small and it took you 18 hours to fucking do, and it wasn't even a part of a project, but you learned how to do it.
Exactly.
You have to do that, man.
Well, it's funny because that's when I was getting involved with all of this and doing, tour photo and video. It's like we didn't have YouTube back then. To be like, how do you do this?
So you really
just
learned.
Fucking did it.
I know.
I was up until 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how to do a cool edit,
but you did that because
because the
cared.
passion and the passion. Yeah, exactly. That's the drive right there.
I would on projects that, again, it was within those 5 years, I was doing free projects. I would stay up till sunrise working on these things because I just fucking
loved it.
I loved it, and I cared so much.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Only 115 people are going to see this, but I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you have to. My whole life, I had this fuel and this flame in me that I just wanted to be a part of something from nothing and just wanted to make cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wanted to do
great,
something.
Isn't it?
I know.
We got a great job, don't we?
Yeah, we're spoiled.
It's the best.
That's why I think about you, and because you've been doing this for so long, and I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like people ask me, they're like, when are you going to be done touring? I'm like, I don't want to. What?
I love it.
Are you kidding me?
I love it.
I always said that if you, the moment you lose that feeling before you go on stage, and again, we're just the camera guys, but your heart's still going, people are screaming. It's like when I lose that, then I'll stop doing it.
It's infectious, man.
That's not going to go away.
Yeah, exactly.
So
our history, dude, I remember, obviously we met on the Chris Young tour. You were with LoCash. And, through the years, we've become like pretty close, with like phone calls and text messages and, life in between.
Well, I owe you an enormous amount of, like, I always like, if I were to win best photographer or whatever, I'm always like, all right, I gotta have this speech about Jeff. I gotta have this down because I've hit you up so many times, and it goes back to like even our camera work. Like there isn't a book out there. There isn't
it's true.
To figure out how to do this job.
Yeah.
And I've hit you up about like, hey man, like how much money am I supposed to be making? You know what I mean? And you're like, I don't fucking know. No, I'm just kidding. No, you did know, and you helped me out tremendously, and I'm so grateful for that. I will
never forget that conversation for some reason, because I was out on tour, I think, with Carrie at the time. And I'll never forget pacing around in the foyer of an arena, just talking to you on the phone, going, you got to do this. You got to do this.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that conversation for some reason. I don't know why.
And you can't talk about this. You're like, TM's over here. Hold on, let me get some more space.
Yeah, exactly. So here I am in an empty lobby of an arena.
And I think it's still evolving. I think they figured out like how much to pay beginners and how much like a normal salary is and stuff. Yeah. But we're still evolving in content.
Yeah. It's hard because the avenues of like you could shoot on an iPhone or you could shoot with a camera, you could hire somebody talented. You know, it's really hard right now that like, you know, if you demand a rate, somebody could go, no, that's too expensive. We'll just get somebody else to do it. You could get like an iPhone or something like that. And I always, you know, we've had the conversation about like, you know, could there be like an agency put into play where it's like, you represent like a slew of videographers and you get the right rate or anything.
There could be, because people are still asking for it.
But it's hard because it's like, oh, well, you know, X amount of dollars should be the normal rate. But you know what? That's too expensive for us. So we're just going to get this person that's just starting off that we can pay $50.
It's one of those things where
it's hard.
We would really have to. And how do you change a music industry of people who just run it? You know what I mean? But for the most part, it's like, man, these are where your marketing dollars are.
Yeah, exactly.
But I understand how some people work where they're like, yeah, we just want to make TikToks and we can just do that with a cell phone.
Yeah.
That's why another reason why I worked so hard on my videos, I was like, I'm not doing that shit. I don't care how much fucking money you give me. You know what I mean? Like, it's so degrading on a creative standpoint. Like, what the fuck we doing here?
There's times where I see TikTok videos and Instagram videos of just like iPhone performances and I'm like, this is so flat and so dull.
I know.
There's nothing creative about this.
And I'm very fortunate that Hardy's like, I ain't doing a fucking TikTok.
Yeah.
He's like, if you put something up, just take it from one of the recaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was like the greatest meeting I've ever had with management. And I'm like, I'm with him. Yeah, we're not doing TikToks.
I know, it's wild how TikTok has just become a thing, man.
Where are you? And obviously you started this podcast, and obviously you're going to keep going on the road, and you still do big projects outside of that. Is there anything that you're looking forward to?
I want to do more documentary stuff.
Nice.
You know, I feel like, you know, it's funny because it's like I've been on the road for 20 years and I've been documenting artists, doing photos, doing recaps, all that stuff. And I've worked with some of the best artists to grace country music, you know, but I love this. I've always loved this, but I definitely want to get a little more into documentaries. Now, here's another thing too, like doing this podcast and having sit down interviews with everybody has really inspired me to, how do we do like some sort of documentary on, I don't know, the passion of filmmakers being out on the road or something. You know, there's so many different things that you could do creatively with film and video, you know, but I don't think I would ever move out of music. I don't think like I said, it's like I was born into it. It's in my blood. It's never gonna go away. Yeah. Would I ever want to do direct a film? Absolutely. I would love to. It would be great. It's not in my 5-year plan. I don't want to do it within 5 years. I want to do it maybe when I'm a little bit older.
If you don't have to do it, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But I love this and I love doing music videos. I don't want to just do music videos. I don't want to do 15 music videos a year. I want to choose what I can do music video wise. Like if I do 1 or 2 a year, I'm happy. It filled my music video, you know, hole for that year. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But that's the bonus with us, because we love the road so much. Yeah. That will always create this like space within everything that we do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because I mean, the thing is, it's like I said, it's like I love being out on tour. I love music videos. I love being in the studio with an artist. I love to see that creative of filming that creative that they get to have. Yeah. You know, it's like, there's just something about it, man. That's just so.
I know. I was just in the studio right before I came here.
Yeah, it's fun,
and it's so awesome. You walk in and they're just making songs that millions of people are gonna sing. You know, exactly. And it's just. I was like, this is crazy.
I know. There was times that, you know, like I'd be in the studio with Carrie while she's recording an album, and it's literally me filming her and David Garcia, her producer. It's just the three of us.
Garcia's her producer?
David Garcia.
Dude.
You didn't know that?
David Garcia is the best in the game.
Dude, he's awesome.
He is making pretty much like 80% of Hardy's rock record.
That's right.
He is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's made, for Hardy, he's made Boots. He's made, not Mockingbird and the Crow, but he did Kill Shit Till I Die. He did all those.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah, David did.
I love that you know him too.
Yeah. Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Such a good dude.
He did Cry Pretty and he did Denim and Rhinestones with Carrie. They co-produced both records.
Sick.
Yeah. That's how probably the whole Hate My Heart thing came around, is because of Hardy.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Hardy co-wrote that with Carrie. And I think
that had a little kind of a rock element to it, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did.
I haven't listened to that in a while.
Yeah. That was definitely definitely had a Hardy touch to it.
He was super stoked about that.
Yeah.
And then he he comes back and I'm just like, so how was it with Carrie? He's like, dude, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's secretly a metalhead.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? The girl from American Idol? What? You know what I mean? So they found that connection, and then obviously that song is really great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, David's great, man. He's always been so great in the studio. Every time I'm filming, he's just,
that's another perk of this job, man. Like, we have no affiliation with a producer or like a songwriter.
Yeah.
But the fact that you get to know someone like that and meet them.
I know.
Like, if I'm in a room, I think it was like New Year's, it was like, no offense to Theo Von, I love Theo Von, but like he walks in and I'm like, okay, that's Theo Von. Then I was like, oh, Garcia's here. Right. And I run up to him, I'm like, dude, what the fuck is up? Like I'm more, I don't know. It's like no one knows who this guy is, but he's incredible.
Yeah, it's funny.
So,
I'm the kind of the complete opposite with like country music. Like whenever like a sports star is around, that's when I'm like, holy shit. Like all these country artists, I'm just kind of like, okay, cool, I work with all of them. But when it comes to sports, I'm like,
no, I'm with that.
Man,
I'm with that.
Right.
Yeah.
I bet being on the road with Hardy, has there been any like crazy stories that you're just like sitting there going, oh my God, I cannot believe I am in the same room?
Probably Tom Hanks.
Wow.
Met him at Tortuga because his wife was on the small stage. She's like a country singer. And you're just talking with this guy and you're looking at him. You're like, you're not fucking real. Right. But I admit, I'm not working in this business. I don't get starstruck that much anymore. Yeah. Which kind of sucks.
Right.
But every once in a while, the Tom Hanks comes around and you're like, he talks just like Woody. He's doing it right now. I was like, you acting right now? What's going on?
That's funny.
That was cool. I mean, we met so many people. Matthew Stafford when we did SoFi.
Yeah.
And that was kind of funny because we were in this room. He was getting a plaque or something, and then like Stafford was just like walking in aimlessly, and he was right next to me, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, dude?" I was like, "Do you want to meet Hardy?" He's like, "Sure." And then he's talking with Hardy. He has no idea who Hardy is.
Oh my gosh.
I think he was just there to see Morgan or something.
Right.
And then Hardy's wife is Callie's right there, and she has no idea who he is, because she just doesn't know sports.
Right.
So it's like a bunch of famous people talking to each other, like, "So you're on a team? Oh, you do music? That's cool,
Right.
And I'm sitting here like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that wild though? Like, what a crazy life we live.
Yeah.
Some of the moments that we're just like we get put into.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to figure out because you said this podcast was going to be the something NDA, and I'm like sitting here
on the
trying to figure out what stories I can tell.
Right.
And what stories are, I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We signed our life away.
And again, I think it goes back to I'm director of vibes, So it's like when the show's done, like I don't touch my camera.
Right.
It's like, let's have a great time because we don't know how long we're going to be out here for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you're partying with somebody else and it's like, whatever you guys want to do, man, let's fucking,
Yeah.
I don't know what drug that is, but let's do it. That's the kind of stuff I feed off of. I get to have those stories. I get to live with them forever.
Yeah.
Do I want to do that stuff anymore? No.
Yeah.
I'm good. I got my stories.
So you and Hardy definitely there's a bond there. And, unfortunately you had to go through an experience that a lot of us like is our worst nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of my, I don't want to say it's the staple on my resume, but It's kind of big. It's up there.
Yeah. Kind of take me through that. I know it's hard, but take me through.
Yeah. Actually, we're doing the same venue that we drove from, and we're doing that this year. And I saw it on Master Tour, and I was like, oh shit, because it just sits in the back of your head.
Yeah.
I talked about it for a long time, and that's why I don't know. It just doesn't really affect me that much nowadays, even though it was only.
It's just
less than
a year and a half ago, wasn't it?
Year and a half ago, yeah. And I say this, I just had foot surgery for the 7th time or whatever. Man, it was a very unfortunate thing, and yeah, everyone fears it, and for some odd reason, it happened. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me of like, why is this a part of the story? Like, why did this happen? Shit just happens.
Yeah.
I think it was just like so fortunate because I was supposed to be dead. You know what I mean? They said that of all my injuries, I cracked or I broke a vertebrae in my neck, and they said half an inch away that I would have been dead.
Fuck.
I know, and I got the worst of it, which I don't know. I'm kind of glad I did, and I've been in and out of hospitals like my whole life, just dealing with health shit. So I don't know. Part of me, like it was like. It was like, oh, this is another thing,
Yeah.
Like I wasn't so shocked about it. It's weird.
Bring me back to that night, because probably not a lot of people. A lot of people do know the story, but for people,
I've told it once before. But basically, we did Country Thunder in Bristol, Tennessee, which was, I want to say it was like 4 hours out from Nashville. We do the show. It's awesome. Then I have this moment of. Because I was on Hardy's bus at the time. Like I was actually it was just me and him on his bus. And our tour manager. Mm-hmm. But then I was partying with the band and the crew, and they're like, "Dude, ride our bus on the way home. It's only 4 hours." And then I was like, and Hardy's like, "No, you're coming with me." And so I almost rode the other bus. But I always ride with Hardy because we have such a good time. So yeah, it was a 4-hour drive, and we're like, let's just stay up, and we'll get in at 2 a.m. And then we'll just go home. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we stay up for the 4 hours, and we're just listening to music, and we're drinking beers, and we're FaceTiming people, and it was just a good time. Mm-hmm. But then there was a couple moments that were actually a big deal, where basically we pulled over, and our driver at the time he was just acting strange, kind of. And we asked him a question, and he didn't respond. And we kind of looked at each other like, what the heck is wrong with him? And we just didn't know that was warning signs of something that he was going through. So he didn't know he had, or maybe he did, I have no idea, but he had a brain tumor, which made him essentially black out behind the wheel. And there's a video of him driving, and it's basically he don't move a muscle, and we're going full speed into the woods off the highway. And then so yeah, we had those warning signs, and man, I think we were an hour outside of town. I forgot what city we're in. Thankfully we were really close to a hospital. We're FaceTiming Morgan Wallen at the time. He headlined and we were just shooting the shit, being like, "Hey, how's the show?" And that was kind of just like a ritual that we did. And in that moment, all I remember is we hit a huge bump, and I flew up in the air, maybe a foot, and dropped back down. And we look at each other, and we're like, "What the fuck was that?" And then within less than 3 seconds, you just get thrown across the room, and it's just a blackout. And then the next thing that happens is I'm on the floor, and waking up from a dream, you know what I mean? You're slowly opening your eyes, and it's pitch black. You're in the woods, it's smoking. And I was so confused because I was concussed. I was like, what happened? Are we at bus call? Did I just wake up from a nap or something? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, yeah, shit just got super real, super quick. It was basically oh wait, my ribs are broken. I'm like, oh wait, there's this giant thing that's in my foot, which it was just my bone that was sticking out. And then you have one person yelling for help, and then you're like, all right, yeah, this is not a good situation. And then I started yelling for Hardy. Every time I tell this story, it's like the hardest part because I yell for him because I can see the driver. I'm right next to him, and he's not well, but he's still alive. Tour manager's yelling for help. He's still alive. So I yell for Hardy, and he doesn't respond. And I was just like fuck, like the kid's dead. So it happened within, I think I want to say like 10 minutes or something. Little did I know he was the first one that was awake because we all got, knocked out. And he was on the highway like with his shirt off, waving people down to try to like get help.
Oh my God.
So I'm sitting on the ground. Ribs are broken, bones sticking out of my foot. On top of, there's like blood all over my face and stuff. And then Hardy pops out of nowhere, and it's through the broken windshield. And he's just like, stay, and he looks like shit too. And he's just like, stay here. I got help. And I was like, you're alive. It was like out of a movie. I was like, holy shit, you're alive. And then he ran off. And then, it was definitely a little blurry, but then the ambulance were there pretty damn quick because we were 2 exits away from a hospital. And I remember paramedics coming in, and he's like, buddy, we got to get you out of here. And I was like, dude, my ribs are broken and I can't walk. And he's like, you're going to have to walk. And he was super urgent about it. And I was like, well, slow down, man, like right. Let's just, and they were so eager to get us out because they thought the bus was going to blow up because it was leaking gas. And so I remember I'm like, this guy's pretty much, I'm like, got my arm over him, and we're going up this hill through the woods, and my open wound of a foot is just dragging through dirt and leaves. And again, I'm just like, this isn't good, So I get my own ambulance, and then part of the story, I was like, dude, you gotta, because I thought there was a thing in my foot. I was like, there's a thing in my foot. And he's like, no, that's your bone, man. That's just sticking out. Because I remember I was trying to pull this thing, and I couldn't feel it because I was just in shock or something. Like when I was sitting down, when I woke up, I was like pulling on this bone because I thought it was a piece of wood.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so then we get to the hospital. Because we were FaceTiming Morgan, that like saved us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or maybe, I don't know if it saved us, but it definitely got everyone aware of it because he witnessed us like screaming over, like it was really bad. Like I really feel for him for like witnessing that. Like he watched us scream and then go into, it was just black. So then he goes up to his driver and he's like, hey, something happened. And he was like texting me. He was like, hey man, you guys fucking with me or something? What the hell just happened? So he hits up his driver hits up our crew driver, which they were already at bus call. And then they hit up our driver. There's no response. So everyone figured it out pretty quick that like we were in an accident. I also feel for about 3 of our guys hopped in a car and they were just like, we just got to find him. Like they were on the same highway. Let's just go back and find him. And they pull up. It was like Harry Myrie. And they pull up and they can you imagine pulling up to just firefighters and ambulance and cops and all of traffic is completely stopped. Mm-hmm. And so they thought that we were all dead. You know what I mean? So then we get to the hospital and one of the first people I see, and I'm like, I admit I was pretty buzzing off of like the beers we were drinking. Right. And then I had a concussion. And then you get there and of all my injuries, they're like, we got to give you some pain meds. I was like, are you sure you want to do that? So I'm kind of fucked up right now. So then they give me that. So then I'm really like messed up. And then one of the first people I see is Morgan because he beelined it right to the hospital. And it was like, I kind of liked it because he brought this like, everyone's like, it's a serious deal. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh my God, are you okay? Some people are crying. And he comes up with like this, like a jokingly kind of fun manner of like, oh, you hit your head there, son? You know what I mean? Which is so stupid, but it felt good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, I was like, you want to see this foot? Because I'm like all high. And I was like, check this out. And he sees it and he goes, he's like, oh my God. He's like, I'm going to go in the other room. And then Hardy's like, man, I'm getting staples in my head. Morgan, come take a picture. You know what I mean? So it was like we were trying to make light of this moment of we were supposed to be dead. And then it got even worse. Like I had a punctured lung, so they had to like, without even, I don't know, for some reason they wanted to give me like fentanyl or something weird to like numb me up. And I was like, I ain't taking that shit. I was like, just do whatever you need to do. And they had to put a tube. It was essentially like the size of this bottle cap, and they had to like hammer it into my lung from the outside through my ribs. God. Because otherwise, like you can, I don't know, the liquid of a collapsed lung can like kill you or something. I don't know. And then I went right into surgery. And, yeah.
Fuck, dude.
I know.
Oh my God, that is.
And I didn't. So I had a bunch of injuries. I didn't walk for 4 months, which that sucked. Also, not being back at work sucked. But it just felt like it was another thing, and I was like, well, just gotta get through it and gotta get over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everyone was like hitting me up, and they're just like, I can't believe you're alive. And I don't know. It didn't. Still today, it doesn't really. I guess talking about it right now kind of hits me, but I don't know. I just thought it was just like that was a bad accident. Shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely all should be dead, which is wild.
Man, that is absolutely. I'm like numb listening to this story.
Yeah.
Because
it's pretty fucking hard to get back on a bus after that.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
we got back. I was able to get back on the road in February following, and I didn't sleep at all.
Yeah.
But it was like, I have to do this. This is my job. I think somebody came up to me. They're like, "Well, what are you gonna do now? Like work a different job? No, I'm gonna go back to touring. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get back on a bus?" And I was like, I fucking have to.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? So yeah, it took me a while to. I think I still deal with it too, if I'm on a bus. I think just being in my bunk and you hit rumble strips and all of a sudden your fucking heart sinks and you're like, but then you remind yourself, you're like, man, that's just, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same statistics as like and it's not. I'm just saying this of like a plane going down, and then you'd be afraid of flying. It's like, man, that was just a scary one-off thing. It's not going to happen again. You know what I mean? Like you have to remind yourself that.
Yeah.
And then if you don't do that, well, just drink a whole lot of beer because that'll make you feel good.
Man, I'll never forget. I was on tour at the time, or I can't remember, when was that? Was that October 1st or October 2nd or something? I feel like. So I was in Nashville, and I remember hearing that had happened. I want to say it was probably the next day I heard that story. And I was like, holy fuck, Tanner was on that bus. Like, every crew and band's worst nightmare you just lived through. And I texted you, dude. I'm like, dude, I just heard what happened. Are you okay? And I don't think I heard back from you.
Oh, I got a lot of messages.
Yeah, no, and that's totally understandable, of course.
Like 700 messages.
I was just like,
which it felt great to have this rapport back from the city. Like everyone just cared up, you know, like everyone hit me up, and that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And even though if I didn't respond back to you, like I still saw your message.
No, I totally get it.
I was pretty on drugs for like the first 2 months. Yeah, you don't wish that upon anybody. There was a previous bus accident story that happened. Man, I can't even think of his name, and I don't even think he's touring right now. But it was out in California, and they went over a cliff. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was.
It was a crew bus. Josh
Turner.
Josh Turner.
Yep.
So I always remember that story, and now to think of it, like, oh, we're kind of in this like category of rare bus accidents, you know what I mean? Or one of the coolest things is we got connected with this band called The Ghost Inside, and they were in a like I consider it a way worse accident. It was a head-on collision with a semi.
Oh shit.
And I think the drummer lost his leg, but he's still playing with them today. But one of their guitarists, man, like I knew him prior just because I met him. But then once the accident happened, he reached out and he was like, dude, whatever you need, I've been through it. I got you. So like talking with someone like that was very, super comforting because they still go through PTSD themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you have to, I mean, for that, did you have to go to therapy or anything? I mean, I know Hardy came out with some.
Me and him were definitely different in the sense of like, because I was out of commission for 4 months, all I did was just talk about it. And everybody who came over, I just told the same story that I just told you.
Right.
So, and I don't know. I like to think that I've been through some other pretty dramatic shit in my life that was kind of like minor or something to me. I was like, yeah, that was just fucking crazy. But Hardy, he had to get married right after that. He had to go on his honeymoon, and then he had to get ready for this album release, and then he had to go do these shows. Like he was just constantly busy. Right. I don't think he had time to sit and really digest it.
Yeah.
I tried a certain kind of therapy that they offered and didn't really do much for me, just as far as trying to get back on a bus.
Right. What did they do?
Man, I forgot what kind of therapy it was. And I did it over Zoom, which was, you shouldn't do that. You should do it in person. But yeah, it didn't really help. And I'm a huge advocate for therapy. Like even just, you don't have to go through a dramatic thing in order to do that. So I used to do therapy for like 5 years of my life straight. And that was before I even moved out to Nashville. And after you go through that, I think you're just more honest with yourself and you're more honest with the world.
Yeah.
So like I was able, after this accident, I was able to just sit down and just think like, this is what happened, and man, that's crazy. Or I feel this kind of way, and yeah. And as far as getting back on the road, people are very like, nowadays, like, hey, you good? Do you need anything? You know what I mean? Like they really care about you.
Yeah.
And if I'm freaking out, I can just literally just open up a curtain and I'm like, Justin, I'm freaking out right now. And he's like, you'll be okay. They'll say the right things to like put you at ease or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, it's been a year and a half, and
how are you today now?
Pretty good. Like I said, I just want to go on the road, and I still find comfort on a tour bus.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though, and I'll sit in the exact spot that I was when the accident happened, and I'll like even make a joke about it. Like, hey guys, recognize this? And obviously they weren't there, so they don't know. Right. But I don't know. I'm good. Like I said, it was just like a crazy thing that on to the next chapter.
Man.
Yeah.
I hate that you had to go through that. But on the back end of that too, though, I feel like, you have told me personally and privately that, it's brought you and Hardy closer.
Yeah, well, we were close already.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like I think I texted him like well after. I was like, man, we've really been through it all, huh?
Yeah.
You can't fire me now. Just kidding. Yeah. We talked about it today. We just say it like jokingly, because we're always joking around. But
God, man.
Yeah, like I said, once they tell his story in a documentary form, like it'll be such a big moment.
Yeah.
For that, because it is pretty important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. I don't wish that upon anybody, man.
Well, thank you for telling that story, dude, because that's that's like, I'm numb literally listening to that story, because that's the first time that you and I have actually sat down and you have told me that.
Well, I don't want it to be discouraging to anybody who's either on the road or trying to get into being on the road. It's just like, I think that the perspective was like, man, you could be I could drive home right now and you could die at any moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of situation it is.
Yeah.
So it's just a reminder to just keep on, man. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree, dude. Well, let's take it out of that first for now. Thank you for telling me that, seriously, because that means a lot that you and I are able to have that conversation.
Yeah,
that story.
Of course, man.
I do have to get to a question though that I have asked everybody on this podcast.
Oh shit!
So we're kind of shifting. We're shifting.
Everyone's
gears
looking
here.
right now. Oh my God!
We're shifting gears here. So because we will wrap up here in a second, but you're on the road for a weekend. You have one camera and one lens.
Oh, this is a hypothetical kind of scenario.
Yeah. What would you take?
This is such a bad question for me, dude, because I just told you I don't know shit about cameras,
Bring
man.
it on, dude.
No, I would have just the same fucking one that I have. It's my Sony, and it's the only thing that I know. And I usually work with a 16 to maybe 28. No, 16 to... See, I don't even know. 16 to 35. Nailed it.
Gotcha.
I like that one.
That's your choice.
Because I'm so close up on Hardy that I shoot in 16 a lot. You know what I mean? And and especially because a lot of videos where I have to narrow it down into this vertical form that I shoot from afar, you know, to try to think about that. So the 16 to 35 that's it.
That's awesome. It's fun.
But I also couldn't shoot a show without my 70 to 200. Couldn't do it. I mean, I could do it.
Right.
But that thing is
so
like...
if you had to choose between those two lenses...
16 to 35.
Okay.
Because I care more about, you know, walking with him.
Like
walking with...
scope.
Oh, I care about just him being backstage rather than trying to get a shot that everyone gets out in the crowd.
Yeah. It's funny because everybody's answers are different, which is great because that's what's so great about our jobs is perspective.
I'm sure there's a dude. I'm sure there's a camera out there, and with all respect to everybody who knows cameras, I need to know more about it. It's literally my career, and I don't know that much.
Well, I'll tell you what you need to do is you need to listen to all these podcasts because there's a lot of techie talk in this too, man.
I'm sure Tim was a big part of that, man. He's such a whiz with that stuff, and that's why he if you look at his work, it's so clean. Like every shot is so clean with it. And my camera's got a bunch of dust and spots on the sensor, and I don't. In a way, I used to pride myself on because it was a sense of like, it's not what you have, it's how you use it, kind of thing.
It's true. It's totally true, 100%.
But now you get to a certain point where you can grow, you know, and I think I buy a new camera maybe every 2 years or something.
Are you due?
No, I think I can go one more year.
Yeah.
And then
what would you get after that?
I would get a Blackmagic.
Really?
I would like that, and then I would like a separate camera, like a Leica for just pictures.
Yeah.
Which I very much want to say that this past year I bought, and again I don't know if this is insulting or not, but I bought so many disposable cameras from Walgreens and Best Buy. Those were some of my favorite pictures because they're moments, and it goes back to the 90s. It's like nostalgic, and you don't see them until they get developed.
I know.
And some of my best pictures are with that. You know what I mean? And it's a step away from being technical and trying to get the frame, and it's more about the people. It's about the moment.
Yep.
And the shittier it is, the better.
It's funny because John Shearer had that conversation because he shot film way back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like you got to get everything right, you know, because you can't just check your camera and go, oh, was that the exposure okay?
I
and
know.
Then you can take another photo.
I know.
Like,
I went through a Polaroid phase, which is also cool to just hang up. And that's another thing, man. These phones, these computers, they could just die at any point.
Yeah.
But if you have a physical copy of a picture, that's awesome.
I know. Yeah.
So.
Well, good. That's a great answer.
I take back my entire answer. Yeah. I would bring a disposable camera with me because I don't give a shit about anything else. Management is not getting a single picture. This is only for me in my living room.
One camera, one lens, the $29 camera from Walgreens.
Well, yeah, right now it's two for $30. So.
I love it, dude. All right, so to wrap this up a little bit, you know, you've been doing this now for a second. You know, you've been in town for a while and you've been on the road for a while.
Yeah.
And we all get the DMs. What's your advice to the next generation?
I would say work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, the work has to be good. And I'm sure a lot of people would say, like, just do amazing work and people will find you. But I've always prided myself on who you are as a person and how you are with people. And I'm not saying that you have to be outgoing, but if you're a nice person, if you're easy to work with, if you're dependable, I pride myself on that. Like, there's a reason why people keep hitting me up, because they know that I'm going to hit a deadline. I'm going to be easy to work with, and I'm just going to get the job done. I might not be the best at it, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's all about who you are as a person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And don't suck at your job.
And don't be an ass.
What else we got?
Did you have fun today?
This was great.
Yeah.
I'm super excited that you did this.
You're closing out my whole season here.
I hope that there's multiple seasons, and I hope you can take this on the road or something. I think that would be fucking awesome.
It'd be fun. It'd be fun to do.
Yeah, you should be very proud. This is awesome.
Thanks, brother. Dude, and thank you. I fucking love you, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the podcast,
of course.
dude. Seriously.
We're getting beers soon.
Yes, we are.
Hell yeah.
And that is a wrap on episode 13.